Good evening. This is FPL Last Resort. We're here after Danny's had a rather good week. How are you, Danny?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thanks, mate. You've had a good week as well, haven't you? Have you not?
Yeah.
Don't know, actually. Yeah, we all have.
Every week I come on here and I have to be nice about you having a great season. Actually, I'll be interested if anyone is in the chat and has this kind of like, it's quite an interest. You know, when you grow up a bit as an FPL manager and you actually want your friends to do well. When I started out kind of talking to other people in this game, it's one of those difficult things, you know, do you really want people to do well? Like, there are some people who you kind of pretend to want to do well. Basically, everyone I want to do well is either in the chat here, because I have to say that, or in Son of a Gun, our SKLW team, and its success helps me one way or another. It's got some good people in the chat, actually. General Zod and Karen and FPL FOMO and so on. So that's already boding well. But yes, good. No, please do. I'll give you a few minutes to talk about last week because it only seems fair. So you had an absolute monster.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a very good week. A lot of people have had a similar score, haven't they? I think I'm on 103, but obviously we've still got Brian to play tonight, which is worrying. But I mean, yeah, it was fun last week. I mean, I don't think I've come off the back. I've had a lot of good fortune this season, but I've just come off the back off a 10-point combined from triple captain and bench boost, which I'm going to keep saying over and over again.
Yeah, so that's harsh.
Literally broke like nothing from the two supposed best chips apart from the assistant manager chip.
Because without wishing to sort of blow smoke in your direction, I mean, when you think about it, so do you want to reveal where you are at the moment, or is that?
Yeah, I don't mind. So that's the thing. I mean, I was about 3K going into triple captain and bench boost, and I came out of triple captain and bench boost I went in at about 2.5K maybe, and I came out at 3.5K. So you use your wild card, use a bench boost, triple captain, your team looks great on paper, and I just went double red arrow to about 3.5K, and then that free hit I'm on at the moment. I'm back to about 1.3K or something. So there's some hope there now, but obviously, yeah, need Brian to be quiet tonight.
Nice, that sounds amazing. In fact, cool, there's some good scores in the chat as well. So Karen, my favourite person from last week, we'll see if he can keep it up. I benched Saar, would have ended on 105 points. So presumably he got in the good 90s. General Zod, that's Ken for the more familiar people. 95 with 38 benched. Christ. Yeah, I did see a bench boost or two this week. Last week. That would have been incredible. Thank you, Will. I'm sorry, I should share. I forget that people
put those messages on the screen.
They don't know what I'm talking about. 1.3K. Come on, Danny. I hope he's talking not about some sort of deplorable sex act, rather than what it is, which is a sort of backing you, which hopefully is what it is. Otherwise, Will, I mean, either way, if whatever turns you on. I agree. It'd be great. Let's be honest, it'd be great for the pod if you can get 1K. I'm gonna say anything else.
Well, I mean, we don't share our ranks, do we, on here? Well, you don't look at your rank. I'm not really bothered either way.
I am a coward.
Yeah, and I'm not really bothered about sharing it either way, but we need to, I mean, if ever either of us ever get to like approaching World and One status, we need to do a focal, don't we? And, we can make a living out of it and share it everywhere and get loads of subscribers at the moment. We've not, but somebody did put in a comment last week on the YouTube video, tell us your ranks, otherwise I'm not interested in listening to you. I'm like, okay, great. That's nice. Thanks.
Is that what they said?
Well, they basically said that. Yeah, they said they said, without that context, we don't know if we're listening to a good decision or not, which is fair enough. I guess a lot of people who look at you on YouTube don't know who you are or don't know anything about you and stuff. So
I feel like I should probably say something about that. Now this won't be obvious to everyone, but I'm actually not that bad at FPL historically. I'm all right. Yeah, it's just I happen to be in the room with someone who's even better. It's really quite annoying. So
I don't know about that.
I need to try and get Stu back on the pod a bit more so that I look really good. Sorry, Stu.
We should be better at sharing these things. You have great ranks every season, and all that elite 1K manager and secret analytics, one of those secret sly.
No, that's not fair. We've talked about this on many occasions. I don't know if maybe some people in the chat are the same, but I'm one of those people that I make my decisions and I realize, that is exactly what I would be told to do anyway, just because obviously got some sort of bad robot. I'm like the kind of robot that you got in a film in the 80s or the 90s, whereas Danny is proper AI, you know.
You're the Terminator, I'm the T-1000. Is that what it is? Yeah,
yeah, exactly that. Do you know what? I'll take that because I preferred Arnie anyway. That other guy with the stupid long. And also, by the way, for anyone watching, and I don't care what you say here, Terminator, the first one, clearly better than the second one, despite what anyone.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. But
It's a bit like that Alien versus Aliens debate, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't really matter because they're both great films. They're just different. You know, one's a horror film, one's a sort of shoot 'em up. But you know, so yeah. Anyway,
rather than actually Terminator versus T-1000, it's just that you're too much of a miser to subscribe to the full FPL review, isn't it? That's all it is, really.
Yeah. Well, it's not cheap living in Richmond Borough. If anyone, you know, we can't all be in, in the north where you can buy sort of houses for 20 grand a pop. No, I'm only joking.
Yeah.
That used to be the case in the 90s, though. I remember because when I was growing up, it was still very much the case where, you know, there were plenty of towns where you could buy, you know, sort of 20k.
Oh yeah.
Sort of terraced houses. Incredible. Anyway, so we're showing our age here, and I'm wandering off as usual. Yes.
Yeah,
I did. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say on the free hit, you're thinking about FPL, like, because you just mentioned someone in the chat who said about Jose Sarr, and that was particularly pleasing, I have to say, because, you know, how often
that was last minute, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, last minute changes never come off, do they? And I was on double Fulham defense the Friday night and the Saturday morning, and just Leno. I just sort of had a good feeling about Leno. I had a good feeling about Fulham.
Yeah,
I did actually think that Fulham would probably clean. So then it's one of them where you've got a good feeling, and but then I was looking at it and I just thought, hang on a minute, I need to pull myself back from this feeling, because the feelings are, you know, most of the time are just nonsense, and just feeling good about Fulham. And I just like went back to, you know, reminding myself, and went back and looked at how many goals Leicester have actually scored, and it was like 3 goals, you know, in like 15 games or something. I'm like, why am I, you know, and Wolves are obviously playing well. I'm like, and the other little factor was, which it didn't really come into the decision, but I guess maybe little 1% was, do you remember, because Sarr, I feel like he's a little bit of maybe a good luck charm. Obviously, I don't believe in any of that nonsense, but you remember when it was like game week 30 when I had him on my bench, and it was that, and Alisson randomly didn't show up. And
yeah. I because I didn't have a keeper that week, did I?
Yeah, exactly. So he auto subbed in for me, and I took a hit from the week before, and it ended up as a -2, and then the auto subbed in for 5 points, so ended up plus points, and it felt really satisfying. I was like,
yeah, I bet, yeah,
to wipe out that hit, and I thought, go on, Jose, and I thought Jose can have another little go this week. And then obviously I was sitting in the pub with my dad, and you know, I'm in like one of many group chats is people like Baker's in there, so a few of the good friends, but we like instantly update scores in there like straight away, so it's always comes there straight away. And yeah, I was looking at Bet365, and I was like, Leicester penalty to Leicester, and I was like, fuck's sake, can't believe it, double Wolves defense. And then Baker started giving it all. Oh, do you own Jose Sarr? He always saves penalties at this time of the season. And I was thinking, shut up, Baker, stop jinxing. And then next thing, I think it was off, said saved it, and I was like, no way. I was absolutely buzzing in the pub. So yeah, it was.
I mean, I've actually got. I'll talk about one thing actually related to free hit in just a second, but I'll let you answer this question, because I'm going to assume it's directed at you, because it's definitely not for me. Actually, thinking about it on the screen now, Brian asks, "Are you lucky?" Do you? I don't know. I mean, you can talk about that if you wish to, or you can ignore it if you like.
It's a horrible question, isn't it? I mean,
I've
obviously been lucky this season because I'm 1.3k or whatever, 1.3 or 1.4k. So I've obviously been lucky this season. But I did get 10 points in my bench boost and my triple captain out of 180 minutes of Mark from penalties. But no, I mean, I honestly think, I really feel like I've played well the last few seasons, and I feel like I've been a bit unlucky the last few seasons in terms of where I actually finished, in terms of like just outside top 10k a couple of times and stuff, with just, even though I spent like the whole season around that rank and sort of played really solidly. So I think this season I've been a bit more lucky. Yeah, definitely. You've got to be lucky to be the rank I'm at.
And it's, you know, it's probably the company you keep as well, right? It just helps you keep on the straight and narrow. By the way, just on this, I've kept Danny on the kind of straight and narrow, but he's now following a sort of health kick regime. He's become the man he's always wanted to be. So he actually ate dinner before this pod, which is a real step forward.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah. So I'm aiming for your, you know, your, what do you call it? Kind of well, I need to lose about 3 stone in weight, basically. You know, look more like you, nice and slim, and you know, look fit and healthy. And
yeah, well, you know,
I should be that, but it doesn't. You know, having dinner at midnight or 1 a.m, and then you know after 10 days, quite a few nights a week is not going to be a good healthy lifestyle. So yeah, I've adopted your lifestyle where I'm having my dinner early now.
Yeah. No. Genuinely, well done. I'm pleased about that. You know, if you can stick around for a bit longer and be healthy, and I do the pod with me until we're grey and old, that'd be terrific. Good. Okay. Oh, you know, the only thing I was going to add, just one last free hit grumble on my part, and I'm not going to read some of these comments from the chat because the idea that, I mean, look at that. That's absolutely disgusting. Will Barton. Now, as someone who lives in Southwest London, that hurts.
Wow.
Anyway, what was I going to say? Yeah, I think one of the things that I've shared FOMO as well. Is there was a bit of a last minute. There was a few last minute dilemmas, weren't there, that people were going through, and I remember. I mean, Prass was basically he made the right decision, and I just stuck to my guns, and that always works, you know. But basically, it was this Bob Sanchez and Bob Sanchez and Trippier versus Cucurella and Pope. Yeah. Now, one of our good friends in here, actually, I remember he's probably stuck a seed in my head. Actually, our good friend Alex, who's sometimes in the chat here. But I remember, obviously, it was the day of the papal memorial in Rome, right? For some reason, I think it probably just sort of one tiny milli% probably just thought me, oh, okay, that feels like that's a nice vibe. Let's go with it. I actually work now for a kind of a Catholic university as well, so kind of there was a bit of that probably floating in there. Also with Cucurella, as you know, I mean, he ended up actually doing. You know, he had a couple of shots on goal, didn't he? And one of the ones was parried straight into the path of Jackson, so there should have been a haul there really, and he scored an offside goal, I think. But yeah, anyway, that went the other way, and that was a good sort of 12 points down after that. And I mean, Bob Sanchez getting 3 boners or 2 or 3 boners. I mean, what the hell, you know?
Yeah, that was annoying. That was a bit annoying, obviously, until Sarr saved the penalty. But yeah, I mean, Cucurella owners were unlucky because I did really feel good about the Chelsea clean sheet, and it was just that you couldn't have everyone, and I just felt too good about Trippier to not have him. But yeah, I think he finished with like 0.6 xGI, and that was not including, yeah, like you say, the goal that was offside wouldn't have counted because I think Jackson scored and he was offside from Cucurella's shot. And yeah, I didn't watch it, but it was pretty painful watching the chat talk about his big chances. So I felt pretty lucky actually after getting away with Cucurella's 6 points. But yeah, it was just like the Friday night I switched to Trippier, and when you just get that sudden feeling of like comfort. I was on Trippier all week, and it was like trying to fit everyone in, and I did really want Cucurella, but I really wanted Sessegnon. But Trippier just is one of them where it just feels. Going into that Newcastle match, it just felt like you did 3 outfield players.
Yeah, I mean, just on that, I mean, obviously there is the red card and all that. And I know people will turn it, but it was still obviously a great pick. But I think one of the things that annoyed me most, is I had a real strong urge to go with 4-4-2 last week, and I never really believed in Rao. I know. I mean, Palmer, I'll take it on the chin personally. I'm sure a lot of people feel this way. There was just too much on paper that felt like it was a sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
But with Rao, I mean, I know he racked up 7 shots and so on, but I don't know. He's looked quite cumbersome, hasn't he, since the turn of the year, really, in truth. As much as I like him, he's sort of his fun sort of eye patch ways and, historical like for him and that sort of thing. Anyway, we should probably get on with it a bit. Actually, a couple of shout outs to some new faces in here as well. Nice to have Gary in from FPL Have a Beer as well. Some great interviews on that channel with friends of ours. Baker, I think we saw, was one of the ones I last saw anyway. And he name checked us, so obviously that was great.
Yeah, really good.
And and a few others as well. But anyway, we should get on with it. I
need to timestamp this afterwards at 14 minutes of just ramble.
Okay, I just want to check with the chat because in my view, my head's cut off. Now, if anyone could confirm whether my head is in place or it's cut off, that would be terrific. The production values here, as you know, are top notch. So I need you to tell me.
It looks right. It looks fine.
I mean, you might be fine. Maybe you're not interested. Maybe you maybe you're quite happy to see all of it. I don't know. Okay, that's just nothing. Let's go on. So yeah, Brian's on all the thumbnails this week, but we actually genuinely thank you, Karen. My head is in place. Excellent. We actually do properly love Brian. We're not doing it just because other pods do. So we'll start with him in just a second. Thank you, Ken. Yes, good head. Right. Oh yeah. Well, so I suppose really it would be wrong of us not to touch on the fact that there was an announcement a little earlier, and I'll be honest with you, I kind of planned the slides in such a way where it could have gone either way. There could have been doubles for 36, and we were talking through that. And it appears not. So we'll go on to those a little bit later. So we'll go straight into moves and captaincy that people are talking through this week. In some ways, it's quite a slow week, let's be absolutely honest. But there are some wild cards in play, and we can talk about that. Well, but are you intent on making a move, Danny? You've got no chips left, haven't you? That's one thing to say, first of all.
Yeah, no chips left. Glad there's no doubles.
No
personally.
double.
I wouldn't have my team's pretty well set up. If we had been doubles, triple Palace, we had Jose Sarr in place. I think we both got him, haven't we? Just in case Palace had doubled, which would have been Palace and Wolves. A couple of City players and all that. So I was reasonably well set up. I don't like doubles. I never have. I don't like doubles or blanks. It just streamlines everyone's moves. Everyone's in the same place. It's less of a. Everyone sort of says, "Oh, that's your big advantage over the masses," and it's not really true anymore. To be honest, I mean, it's always a bit of an advantage, but I'd rather just play pure FPL. I mean, most of the top, I don't know, 500k, or there's certainly at least, I don't know, there'd be about 500k really engaged managers who actually, let's talk FPL. Andy's got, what's he got, like 500 subscribers, Raptor, Harry and all that. So the masses all make the similar moves and the same moves in the doubles as well. Anyway, it's crazy, isn't it? So I can't stand it, to be honest. I just find it really boring and restrictive. So I'm glad there are no more doubles. It means I can just make transfers based on players that I like and the team that I like and an 11 that I like.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's interesting, isn't it? Be interested to see how others feel about this. But I know I'm of the same mind. I'm convinced that season on season I would do better if it wasn't for chips. There's no, unless you poured on the spreadsheet, so you'd never be able to sort of prove that. But for me, it removes an interesting element of the game, which is essentially that you feel dictated to. And when you've got 38 moves a season, I remember Alan from FML FPL really made me think about this, and he was like, "What the hell kind of a game is it where you got 38 decisions to make a season? Most of the time, one a week." I mean, I know it's not exactly that captaincy and so on, but it is kind of mad, isn't it? So to reduce that even further by saying, well, you got a double in 36, you got a double in 34, and so on and so forth. It does make it a little bit tedious, doesn't it? Whereas this way, at least this week, for example, there's 3 or 4 different ways you could go with captaincy, maybe more. And these things are made a bit more interesting by the fact that your transfer is now probably freed up. You don't need to think, oh, I'd better change things around and get Ollie Watkins or something. Don't get me wrong, people will still do that. But that's nice to remove it. Long story short, is the man on the screen in you? I'll be careful here. Is Brian and Buemo on your thoughts this week? I'm sure Nico Williams. Is it Nico Williams?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, Frenchie will be angry with me if he's watching, not knowing that for sure. Are you looking there this week?
Yeah, pretty nailed on to come in for me, to be honest. I've got Saka. I don't expect Saka to start. He could do, but I don't expect him to. So it's one of those where it's not worth the risk for someone who, just has got amazing fixtures for the rest of the season. So I'll definitely be bringing him in. It's just more about the question on captaincy, which is really tough this week, actually. But yes, it's a little bit one of them, isn't it? Because we have only got 4 weeks, and it's like, you're just getting through this weekend. In terms of transfer, for me, the transfer is taken care of. So a lot of people, the people who've owned Weymouth, they've got a more interesting week. Most of them are probably rolling, which is beneficial.
I mean, just to say on that, people think that this doesn't exist anymore, but I've got 2 managers in my SKLW squad. I say my SKLW squad. That makes me sound like a
It is
proper.
your squad, but yeah, go on.
It is. I've been running it for a while. And if we take our good friends David, who sometimes watches this, and Spencer, I think, who finally got his account back last week after Brenda returned from leave at FPL Towns. They've got 5 transfers ahead of game week 36, and I looked at that and thought, what the? Of course, they'll probably be gutted, I assume, but they've got different opportunities now anyway. So, I mean, just on that, did you want to think about that at all? I mean, from that point of view, are there other names that would compete with an Mbeumo transfer this week if you were if you were a bit more profligate with your situation, if you had a few moves, for example?
Yeah, I feel for those people because it's not the advantage that it was, isn't it? And
No.
most people have got really good squads, so they'll be in a situation where you can bring people in and go for it and kind of increase your risk really, rather than necessarily points or expected points. So you could easily be taking players out who are going to score more points. Because I don't know, I think of someone like Ollie Watkins this week's a good example. I definitely happily go there as well as Mbeumo, I suppose. But people have either got, if you've got a third striker like me who's got João Pedro, so that makes it a bit easier. I suppose we'll come to that in terms of future plans. I can get to Ollie Watkins, but other people have got Mateta, someone like a Mateta. That's probably appealing to people to sell Mateta and get a Watkins or someone else, which looks fine on paper. But Palace are a good team, and Mateta suddenly played really well in the cup, didn't he? Played really, really well. So it just becomes a dangerous situation for people, loads of transfers, but an interesting one. You can definitely get to players earlier, and it's definitely an opportunity to climb a bit more if you do want to just go for it. The rest of us have got pretty. Most people have come off the back of a wild card in 30 or 31, haven't they? So we all got pretty similar squads that are all pretty solid on paper. But yeah, Triple Palace and the likes.
I've seen very few squads with our João Pedro problem, by the way. And of course, I mean, I thought Evan Ilson owners were going to join us in our sort of relative, situation of unfortunate ways. But it seems
everyone went to Mateta, and I wouldn't be annoyed. I've said this last week, so I'm not going to go on myself, but I didn't think Mateta was a very good move because I didn't think the minutes were good after that head injury, and they weren't good. So
he probably averaged about 50 minutes a game, didn't he? Really?
Yeah, exactly. So they've got away with it for the most part. But so that's why really, because it's just literally virtually everyone owns Mateta. Few people have got Evan Nelson, and very few have got João Pedro, which is surprising. But anyway, he's gone now. So
yeah, to be honest with you, outside of present company, I think it seemed to be more on analytics wildcards from 31, probably more than anything else. What's frustrating about that position, by the way, I don't know how no one else will care about this probably because it was not many people owned him, but he was one of those handy ones where you could probably play him this week. But also, if you wanted to hold things through the bench, he had a great fixture in 38, didn't he? We were a pretty decent fixture in 38 from memory. So it was one of those ones that's really quite frustrating, but probably have to end up doing something about that.
It's kind of worked out on paper or quite well for me, though. It makes decisions a bit simpler. Like I say, I'm looking at Ollie Watkins. I really like the look of Ollie Watkins, and I don't have to struggle with the decision of selling to a sell Mateta or whoever else it is, because I've got João Pedro and I'll be able to afford it. And also, it would have been tough decision really to play him or bench him this week. And actually, I low-key feel pretty good about my Triple Palace this week because I think the Palace have gone on this. They've gone on a bit of a journey, haven't they? Where they've had their really shit phase. They've had a wake-up call by getting battered by teams out of nowhere. They had a bollocking off the manager. They seemed to reset a bit. They went a bit, a bit more solid. They got that 0-0 at Bournemouth with 10 men. Did they have 10 men for most of the game? Was it Palace? Yeah. Richards got sent off.
Yeah. It was first half, wasn't it? Yeah.
And then battered Villa in the cup, which was amazing. So I feel like Palace have, again, we sort of said it with Man United last week, that seems to be a bit more intrinsic motivation there at the moment. They've had the bad patch. They do need to stay in rhythm for the cup final. And there'd be an element, I suppose, of players worried about getting injured for the cup final. So that might make them step out of a tackle a bit more. Can you hear a dog in the background?
I was so to think. Usually the noises from my direction. I was thinking to myself, that sounds like. I mean, I'm in a top floor apartment, so I'd be surprised if I could hear it. Yeah.
I've closed the window. Hopefully, it's quite. Next door,
The
I've got two of those.
again, the mean streets of Manchester. There's just wild dogs roaming the streets.
Yeah, but these are like those. These are like little rodents of dogs. Those.
Yeah, I'm not. Those are. I was about to veer into a dog conversation. We've
done enough of that. We've done enough of that. Plus, I won't diss that type of dog either because FPL General might be watching and I think he's got a similar type of dog. Lovely dogs, those little sausage dog things, lovely things.
Dachshunds, yeah.
Dachshunds, that's right. So yeah, I sort of feel quite good about Palace. They've had nice rest now. They play on Monday night at home against Forest. And Forest will be a bit nervous. They've not looked quite as good recently. Basically, Palace and Glasner are just a really, really good team. So, and obviously Sarr, who is the one you probably feel, or people have probably felt least good about because he hasn't really done this, was incredible in the cup again and showed what he can do with the brace. So yeah, I'm probably just convincing myself, but I feel okay about it.
I was convinced that this week I would lurch into an unfortunate hit. I know that you wouldn't have. I suspect encouraged this anyway. But actually one of the great impacts about that result, and of course the doubles announcement, is that there's absolutely no need now, unless you're really chasing, to have to go down that kind of route. Because obviously we're a man down with João Pedro and that sort of thing, and the squad didn't look especially pleasing. But yeah, I'm absolutely fine with playing the Palace this week. To tell you the truth, the one thing that's a little bit annoying, we'll come to our teams later on, is that in an ideal scenario, might have been tempted to bench one of the Arsenal defenders this week. But what with Milenkovic playing away at Palace and so on, it makes it a little bit more awkward, really. Anyway, last bit for this segment: is he a transfer in and a captain situation for you, or are you a little behind on the other options that we're looking at?
I'm really struggling actually because he was, in my mind, he was my captain from the start of the week and sort of all week. I've just thought, yeah, I'm going to go Boomo for captain. It's nice, like the look of it. As the week's gone on, I'm less sure. I mean,
I know what you mean.
It's just that turnaround. I mean, Brentford are a team that aren't used to a Thursday, Sunday turnaround, and we've seen it with so many teams where they look knackered after a Thursday. And I know they're playing United, who've got should be more tired or more. I mean, we can probably rotate more than them anyway. But our sort of second string team is quite a bit weaker. It worries me. It's like when I made that mistake previously when of underestimating how bad we could be. What was that weekend when we got battered by someone? Who was it? Newcastle, because we just got absolutely battered by Newcastle. And no, it was like Ericsson started centre mid. As soon as you see Ericsson starting, no offense to him because he's been a great player, but you think, oh God, we're going to be so open in this game, and it's just that's the sort of thing you can see happening on Sunday. But yeah, it's not a given. I mean, I want to watch tonight. I want to watch it closely, see how I feel about Bumos. He'll probably play 90 minutes tonight. Maybe he'll play a bit less than 90 on Sunday because I don't know. He's a naturally really fit guy, but it is a tight turnaround, and so I think there are opportunities, and it's all just sort of falling a bit in place with Boomo. But you've got Isak, who's up there for me. It might depend on the team that Brighton play. It might depend on whether like Van Heck's fit or not. Because if he's still out, they've looked shaky at the back, and Isak is a really solid, reliable guy who has had a rest. And when we talk about Newcastle and City, so Marmoush is also right up there. And Marmoush, by the way, would probably be a lot higher with the analytics guys, I suppose, if his pen share was what it should be on review. I still think it's way too low. I might be wrong, but I would be betting on Marmoush to take the penalties. But yeah, City and Newcastle have both really got something to play for. You do want motivated teams at the moment. You want teams that are really going for it in the league. This is a massive game for Villa, for Newcastle, for City, probably a few others. But they're the ones that I'd feel really good about. If I had Watkins, I'd be considering strongly him for as captain. And yeah, Marmoush, Man City, they're at home Friday night, which is always nice. Nighttime game, rest, motivation. So I feel really torn at the moment, actually. I feel like I'm possibly going to go suboptimal and not go Boomo at the moment, but I'm really torn between those three. Really. What about you?
Actually, just before I talk about that, I'm going to address something here because I feel like this, on some small level, would have been my fault as much as anyone else's. No, I shared something earlier on because there was a question about whether a fake article around about Boomo being injured. It wasn't a fake injury or anything like that. What had happened is some guy, it was one of these rubbish, one of these dreadful websites that you just can't believe anything but comes up on your timeline somewhere or another anyway. I think it was Football Insider. And anyway, the article was Brian Mbuemo responds after Brentford player misses the rest of the season with an injury, right? So it made it deliberately sound like Brian Mbuemo was injured, but it's actually about Vitaly Yanal. So if anyone is in the chat and they're worried about that, I mean, he's in the lineup tonight anyway, isn't he? So it doesn't really matter. But,
don't give it any airtime.
Don't give it any airtime. Well, I already have. Yeah, anyway, let's dismiss that and never use Football Insider again until the next time. Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I wanted to talk about that myself. I obviously can't have a captain Brian Mbuemo on my screen tonight. Because he's not in the team yet. But the longer the week's gone, the more I've thought about that turnaround, and actually just the idea that Manchester United's defence, it's really. I wanted to talk to you again about what sort of lineup we're likely to get from them. That certainly factors into it, but I'm veering a bit more back towards Isak at the moment, just because after watching Brighton last week, and again, if West Ham can score twice against you at the moment, it's really not a good sign. And we could have happily taken a result from there. So they didn't look too good. And Isak is still getting a reasonable amount of big chances. I think people were a bit worried about him not scoring and so on, but
yeah,
he's still getting the chances, right? So
I've just opened up Neil's initial United lineup out of interest. I mean, he'll update this, but this makes for quite funny reading, and we might both be closer back to Boomo by the end of tonight.
Oh, really?
Neil's lineup, right, includes for Manchester United, Frederiksen, Kamassen, Kone, Eriksson, Amas, Mainu, Mount, and Obi Martin.
Obi Martin.
Yeah.
I think I saw Obi Martins play at Norwich back in the when I was way younger. Do you remember he played for Inter Milan? I know this is a different person, by the way. I'm not an idiot.
Obafemi man.
But he played at Norwich in a 2-0 win. And the other player who scored or was playing that night, you all remember this guy? Adriano, the guy who just had like the hardest shot.
Well, Obafemi Martins was the guy who had like 99 pace on ISS Pro.
Yeah.
And Adriano had 99 shot power. So if you went into Milan, all you had to do was just go bolt straight line down the wing with Obafemi Martins, kick the ball into Adriano, and then leather it.
I'll be amazed if anyone remembers this game because it was actually a pre-season friendly, by the way. So if anyone in the chat has watched it, then that would be amazing. But it was the first time in a live football match I've ever seen someone round a keeper from like the weird. Okay, so generally when the keeper comes rushing out and you round the keeper, it's usually around the penalty spot at the edge of the area, maybe something like that. But we're talking Obafemi Martins got round the keeper at like the corner flag. I think the only person I've seen do it in a live game was Carnu. Do you remember Carnu at Chelsea once? He scored around the keeper from like the corner flag. So it was one of the bizarre. But Norwich playing Inter Milan. That was a good game back when I was a student. Good. Right. The other contenders we should talk through. And actually, it's funny. I feel like with Marmoush, by the way, you get this strange kind of level of familiarity where you stop believing that they're an exciting option anymore just because they've actually been really good and got solid minutes and are probably on penalties and all that sort of thing. I feel like I'm already taking him for granted. And now, of course, there is Haaland back in training and so on. I'm not particularly worried about that, at least not this week or the next one particularly. But yeah, I feel like we've already started to take him for granted. And I know he's drifted wide a little bit more recently. But yeah, what are your thoughts? So at the moment, would you say it's more a case of Isak versus Brian, or is Marmoush genuinely in your thinking? I find it difficult because Wolves have just been really all right, haven't they? Not that they'd like to win or anything, but
No, it's definitely three of them in my thinking. Like I say, I think Marmoush would be higher. He'd be the template coming out of the, the review slaves camp if his pen share was higher, because I think review's got it at like 30%, whereas I'd probably have it as, I don't know, 70 or 80 myself.
You say 30%?
Yeah. Pretty sure review still lists. It just goes off some. I can't remember what it goes off, but some ancient listing. No offense to review, which is brilliant model by the way. But I think it's got De Bruyne even. What's De Bruyne? De Bruyne's.
Well, that's no bad thing.
De Bruyne's got a 60% pen share, and I think there's almost no chance that he takes the penalty for them. So I think that's just completely wrong. So Marmoush would be a lot higher. But yeah, like you say, I think it's really difficult because it is just where you can't help. Most people won't go there. I mean, obviously, I've just triple captained him for a blank and then a blank, and it's hard for me. It's hard for me to go back there. But he is, and again, I don't. Yeah, he has been a bit wider, but I don't really go into Man City games buying into any kind of thoughts or preconceptions about what they're going to do tactically and if he's going to be out wide or this and that, because it can just change every game. And he's still been getting good chances, and he is the sort of player that I like to captain because he's just sort of so aggressive and confident and fast and young and fresh, and he just gets into the right positions and he leathers it, and he's a good finisher and he's confident, and I think he'll be on penalties. Friday night, City are at home. It's a massive game for them. Wolves have looked good, and obviously, but they've had very good fixtures. They've won £600 or anything, but they have looked good. I mean, just because they've been good fixtures, you've still got to win what's in front of you. I think they've got a good manager. They've got a happy camp. And they've got really good players, they've got a solid, Agbadu at the back is really solid. And Totti and all the rest of it. So the team's just got good players and playing well, but I think City will probably win comfortably. So I think people are a little bit put off as well because it's Friday night, first game of the week. It's a bit tough. It's a bit tough when it's the first game. So basically, I actually really quite like Marmoush. I don't really like that it's Friday night. I won't let that come into my decision. I will just go who I think's the best. And then you've got Isak, who hasn't been looking fantastic, and even the manager sort of said he hasn't been his best, but he did follow that up, as later as I said on the wire, he did follow that up by saying, that could change any day. Isak and Newcastle are again a really reliable team. It's just like when we went into last week, that was the fixture that you just knew would be 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. They just batter teams. They always turn up. They usually always turn up. They usually always play well. I mean, the slight issue is they've actually already lost to Brighton twice this season, and they've only scored 1 goal against them. But that was a better Brighton team. I'm going to be interested if I think Van Heck's like 75% or something, so we need to wait for a press conference. I think if he doesn't play, I think if he's still injured, then obviously Isak goes up another notch even further, and he is just such an amazing striker, and he's so reliable. I mean, it kind of just defies belief in a way, Isak, how good he is at getting in positions and finishing, and he's just an unbelievable player. So every time Newcastle score, you expect to see the word Isak come up, and it's just one of those things now that's happened. It's 2 years of that, isn't it, where you just think Isak. So I actually really like both of them, and this is the problem, because then it's those two for me versus Bumo, who we've just said is great. I mean, Bumo's the second highest scorer in FPL. That's the thing. That's the other thing that people still haven't really made that shift necessarily fully with what Bumo is as a player. I think he needs 2 more goals to get to 20 league goals for Brentford and be the only second player who's done that since Ivan Toney did it. But it's really difficult, that one, because they've got 2 days turnaround. So tomorrow's probably a rest day or light training at best, or maybe they go in. Maybe they would normally have a rest day, but maybe they go in tomorrow for some like focused, recovery and physio work and stuff. Maybe some light training. Then they've just got Saturday. It's hard for your mind to get prepared, not just your body, for playing just 2 days later. Suddenly it's Sunday morning, you're playing again, and you feel like you've just played last night. But looking at that team that Neil's got for United at the moment, I mean, I am expecting us to rotate, but that's in a way, and I know he'll update that and it'll change, but in a way that's actually reminded me because of our turnaround and the significance of these matches, especially if it's close tonight, that's actually an important reminder for we will fully rotate. Like, we've got no reason not to. We've got nothing to play for. We've got everything to play for in Europe. So our team could be shocking against Brentford. And Brentford are at home, and Brentford are very good at home. It's a bit, it helps when you've had no rest that you get to play at home. You don't have to travel somewhere. So I think it's really hard to choose out of these three, really hard. And you do have two of them have got the home advantage. I think Newcastle are away, aren't they? Or Newcastle are away, aren't they? I think they're away.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Where are you at with the three of them?
Yeah, no, I was going to do that kind of kitsch pod thing. Actually, it's not kitsch because the Wire do it all the time. Of asking you to rank where you are at the moment, but I'll do myself first, so that I can't be accused of being influenced in any way. I think for me, the way I would stand with it at the moment is Marmoush is third on that list. I'm trying to think of what my I mean, I'll talk through the order and then I'll go back through it perhaps. But based on what you've just said about the lineup issue, I mean, I was leaning a little bit more towards Isak being top, but I think if that is genuinely the feeling that the lineup is going to be quite dodgy, then that might be Brian back to the top. But for me, it's much more likely to be in between Isak and Brian. The one question I was going to ask actually is that Marmoush, is he back? Is he on set pieces at the moment? I'm sure there was in the cup game he
set up the Vardiel header from a corner in the cup. So he definitely takes a share of corners and
that is in a tight week.
De Bruyne wasn't playing though, was he? I didn't actually get to see that game properly. So wasn't De Bruyne arrested for that game? Weirdly.
That, by the way, I don't know. I'll be interested to see where you stand on this kind of thing. You get those managers who are like, "Oh, great, yeah, they've had a rest," and I'm always really skeptical about that. As soon as they don't play in an important game, I'm like, "Shit, what's happened?"
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit. I'm not concerned enough this week, right? Because first of all, we're going to get hopefully maybe a leak or some news before the 35 game and the 36 one. So I feel like I'm kind of covered to a point. But as a De Bruyne owner, it's a little bit of a
there's no way
bit of a reminder.
That's not a rest. That's not a rest. It's definitely not a rest.
Sorry, not well, you know what I mean. Like,
no, I know, and I'm just saying though, it's a good point because a lot of people own De Bruyne, and if they are thinking that he wasn't rested, it doesn't mean he won't play on Friday. He could well, but it'll be purely a tactical thing. We know that. He's even said last week, he said about the players who he knows from experience can play 2 or 3 times in a week. And he named De Bruyne as one of them because, of course, he can. Because for years he has played every single game and just Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, and he can still do that. De Bruyne, he can still do that when he's fit. He's not ancient, So that was a big game. So it must have been tactical. But obviously, like you say, they you just don't know with Kevin. But just to add one little more point before you carry on that point is which is good, and it's a kind of obvious thing, and I kind of agree with you that I think the other two have got to be slightly ahead. It is just that talisman thing, isn't it? I do think Marmoush is their kind of main attacker, and he's kind of their main man. But I mean, of the three, I mean, Bumo's obviously got loads of routes to points, and he is the second highest scorer in FPL, and he is absolutely superb. But of the three, when you see that goal flash come up and their team scored, one of them you're like 80% sure it's going to say Isak. And the other two, you're like, it's probably going to say Wissa, might say Bumo, could say one or two others. City, you could say, you don't really know, it could be anyone. It's a big difference in terms of talisman. When you're backing Isak, you are properly backing the main man for a good team, aren't you? So yeah, I agree with you there.
Sorry, I'm hiding my mic because the problem is as soon as it gets hot in this part of London, right, is that I can't open windows doing anything exciting like this because I'm not the only way I can afford to live in a lovely area like this is that the flight path is above me.
We need the sirens. Otherwise,
sirens, outside. And then
it wouldn't be last resort without the sirens. I mean,
the tube isn't far away as well. Yes, yeah. Well, what can you do? But it's interesting you say that about the goal alerts thing, but because I mean, out of these three, I would definitely say that Isak and Buemo are relatively close together in terms of their involvement. Obviously, you know, that emotive sense of if I see a reaction, it's very likely that one of those two is going to be involved. Marmouche, I don't know whether I'm quite at that point yet, but yeah. So anyway, how are you for order at the moment? Are you just going to wait and see and let things go a little further before you're willing to declare? Or
Is my background noise okay? By the way, I've just opened my window. You can't hear.
You're fine. It's me. I'm in the
No, but I can hear like
the hubbub.
Wind and stuff quite heavily. So tell me in the chat if it's annoying because I'll close the window. Yeah. Oh God, I don't have a rank at the moment, and I don't because I mean I'm going to try and not sit on the fence because that's the point. I've not got to that point yet of really processing how I feel about where I'm going to land. I think. I mean, the other appealing thing about Boomer, for example, especially if he doesn't score tonight, is his effective ownership will be quite low or relatively low.
Is it? Okay.
Well, it will, you know.
Yeah, in comparison to the other two.
Yeah, if Boomer blanks tonight, the masses aren't going to go to Boomer for captain when you've got, Isak and Salah. I mean, Salah has to be in the conversation. We haven't even mentioned Salah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I haven't put him on. I haven't put him on the slide.
Because Salah is always one of them. You know, typically. I mean, if Liverpool hadn't won the league already, I'd probably be going there. I mean, but Chelsea have been defending very well recently. And that's a big factor. And obviously a big factor is they have won the league and most of them will have been out on the piss. Salah won't because he doesn't drink. And a couple of others won't have done either. Obviously, Cody belongs to Jesus, so he won't have been out on the piss.
He'll be with Allison, you know, kneeling for prayer.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. They've probably been knocking on doors together, or been on some kind of pilgrimage or something. But yeah, this is one of those classic weeks where it's a classic Mo Salah week, isn't it? When you're not sure, go for Mo Salah. Go for the guy who's gone 320 points, who's on penalties, and he's going for the goal contributions, and he's going to play 90 minutes, and he's really good. It's a classic Mo Salah week where, if unsure, go with Mo Salah. And he is in that conversation of the four for me still, actually. For that reason, I need to think about what I think that's going to look like. The thing that puts me off the most of that is how well Chelsea have been defending, and the fact that they do have a lot to play for. And I think, you know, when they had Lavia played, didn't they, on the weekend? So that meant, you know, Lavia was Caicedo inverted, didn't he, with Lavia, which meant Fernandes pushes up, and they always do look a bit more solid when they do that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
And I guess Salah would be up against Cucurella. I don't know what that matchup's been like in the past, but he's a bit rum, Cucurella, and he's clever and he's rum, and he's going to be pulling hair and getting his hair pulled and grabbing. He's probably, you know, grabbing Mo's Salah's balls and all sorts to put him off. And yeah, oh God, I'm going on a ramble here.
You did say rum a number of times there. I hope we can encourage the correct use of the word rum, not as in drink. So if people, after this pod, whoever you talk to, you know, your wife, your dog, whoever it would, try and use rum in an amusing way. Honestly, it brings you joy to your life. It will.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, miles away there. I was just thinking, Isak does depend a bit on Van Heck. I think if Brighton's defence have got back, that's probably is enough. I'm not normally swung by, you know, personnel and stuff, but given the results they've had against Newcastle already this season, that might be enough to put me off. Otherwise, I might have Isak number one. No, I don't know. Maybe Bumo still. It's Bumo or Isak at the moment. Maybe Bumo still.
Looks like it's Bumo.
Has that been confirmed though? Have they had the press conference?
I don't know, Karen. If you could do your usual digging and try and find out what the hell is going on. Is he really there? Can you see him in training? Has he been doing his stretches and all sorts of things? That would be tremendously useful. But yeah, that it is a factor because I can confirm, like I said, that they conceded a lot of chances through the middle last week. Bowen got some incredible space, you know, around the right-hand side of the centre-backs as well. For one of those goals, you probably remember this one. You know, the Kudus one. He got acres of space inside the box. It was incredible, really, because obviously we suck so bad at the moment. So to see that is something else. Apparently, the presser happened today. So yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah. Does make a little bit of a difference. Okay, cool. Yes, we'll watch this space, but it's another one of those captaincy ones where again I want to try and get into the better habit generally in this game. So there's a habit ahead of next season where I don't leave the captaincy to to late. It really annoys me that I do that. I worry about all the other decisions, and that's the last one. I think we have to talk about it, Bowen, because a lot of people are mentioning this, and I suppose I should talk about it really. But I'm interested to hear what you have to say first, because obviously I'm a fanboy. So
yeah, and I don't have a huge amount to say really. I haven't been able to watch too much of West Ham, so I'd be interested to see what you say. I mean, I've always been a Bowen fan.
oh yeah, of course.
I've always rated him really highly just because he's just so robust. He plays every minute and he scores goals, and he's just he's a little bit like Wayne Rooney physically. So you always feel confident about him physically, just being able to kind of bully people and get in the right positions and get shots off and stuff. So I've always liked Bowen as a pick, but he's not really. There's no room for him to be in my thinking at the moment. So he's not really someone I'm thinking about or considering. I think he's a good pick. I think he's a solid pick. Does he have penalties? I suppose that probably does. I guess he probably doesn't. In which case that counts for quite a lot. I mean, I wouldn't captain Bowen ever. And I wouldn't pick him over Bumo ever. But I'd have him if I was wildcarding at the moment, or if I was one of those people with loads of transfers. But yeah, what do you reckon?
Yeah, so first of all, I don't expect he will be on penalties. Just about, he's a perfectly decent taker, but whenever there's no evidence to suggest that Paquetá hasn't had them in the last year or two. Whenever he's been on the pitch and so on, and I think the betting thing has more or less gone away now, or it's going to pass over. But I mean, I agree with you. I mean, obviously, it's very difficult for me. It's so close to home because I love him obviously, and it saddens me really that he's been involved in this season for West Ham. I don't think outsiders quite appreciate how absolutely awful it's been in the last 18 months. Because if you think about, okay, Moyes post Conference League win, okay, they were all right for a little, even that season they in the league they took a downturn in the second half of the season, but really ever since then the form's been awful. Late Moyes, similar under Lopetegui, and then similar under Potter. I think, what is it now, 3 wins in 14 league games. I mean, I think that's what it is anyway, and they've looked pretty pathetic for most of the time, and people can only blame personnel for so long. And it should also be said that one of the reasons I've kind of told people that they're definitely in the running for a relegation spot next season if they don't watch out is that that they've sacked all of the people behind the scenes more or less who are involved in transfers. So the chairman, Sullivan, who's that absolutely sort of, I don't even want to talk about it really. But he's going to be doing all of the negotiations again, and that's just a recipe for disaster because they clearly need an overhaul. So anyway, that's a long-winded say, but I mean, no, I don't think you can go there for captaincy personally. Although I understand the lure, the fixture is really good. For example, if you told me, Watkins was playing against Spurs this week, I'd be like, "Oh, that's interesting." Or one of the players that we're talking about up against Spurs. I get it, but Bowen, it's just that I don't really know what to expect from us. We looked quite open last week, obviously towards the end, conceding two-ish late goals, and I wouldn't be surprised if Potter reverts a little bit more defensively after that. So that's the only thing. Just don't know what you can expect. But by the way, I hold some interest in him. If there is a scenario where I'm really shot down by a KDB absence again and Saka absence, then I might be in a situation where I have to do something. So Bowen, it probably won't be Bowen, but he's definitely in the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I did forget it was against Spurs this weekend. To be fair, so I forgot it was Spurs this week. I don't know why it was next. That must be Villa. But yeah, that doesn't really change anything that I said. But it is an incredible fixture at the moment. Spurs at home, straight after Europe. It's an incredible fixture. So I'd definitely be backing Bowen to do well this weekend, and probably back him to score. Yeah, you really need to view that Spurs fixture. I mean, I can't wait for Villa to play them. I think it's next week. I'll be doubling up on the Villa attack probably for that. So.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I don't know where I am with that yet, but we can talk about that next week, I think, because it's a little bit more difficult for me having De Bruyne, obviously.
Yeah.
I was going to say I've got a couple of Krellin tweets here. Ben Krellin. I mean, it's quite flippant. I was like Krellin tweets.
I thought you said Brelin.
Benjamin. And yes, thank you very much. And initially, people got excited, obviously, because there was some potential for doubles. I don't need to talk about that anymore. These are the fixtures going forward. Now, the reason why I want to bring these up now is for a different reason, which is I think it's just worth us leaving a little bit of room for, planning over the next few weeks and thinking about opportunities that might exist now, but also for people. I've got a few friends who are on wildcard this week and have chips left. For example, our friend FPL Fraser, who was in the chat here with us last week, he's on wildcard expecting some doubles, and of course the poor guy gets nothing. And of course he's got a bench boost the following week as well. So I'm just going to show you an example of a team there which deals with those scenarios as well. Just very quickly before I share that kind of wildcard team, hopefully he doesn't mind. By the way, I haven't actually asked him, so sorry, Fraser. We've got the remainder of fixtures there. Hard to plan for sure, right? Because you've got João Pedro and other things, and who knows, there could be some other problem after the weekend. But where do you see the opportunities for you, or are you in full defensive mode now that you're a sort of top 1K wanker?
No, never in defensive mode. I don't play like that. I just carry on playing normally. But I'm not. I don't think I'm really. I don't really anything anyone jumps out as kind of opportunities. I think Villa do for me. I like Villa at the moment because we can't forget how well Villa have been playing. They just had a couple of really bad results and gone out in the cup, but they were absolutely brilliant before that. And, it was only 2 weeks ago they absolutely battered Newcastle in a huge game. So the opportunities. I mean, I love Rodgers at the moment. I think Rodgers is still underappreciated. I think he's quite a bit better than, again, people probably see him as. So I'm looking forward to playing him every week, and I'm looking forward to Watkins because now that Rashford's out, I think that's really significant. So they've got decent looking fixtures, very decent looking fixtures, considering they've got so much to play for. So Villa stand out. Obviously Bournemouth fixtures are not great until 38, which is quite nice because I don't really want to have to go there. And they've not looked great actually recently. Bournemouth, they've had a bit of a slip, obviously, a bit of a dip. What else is there? I don't think anyone else really stands out. I mean, obviously Everton and stuff like that, but sorry, Andy Martin, but I wouldn't be building my team around Everton players. So yeah, I mean, City have got very good fixtures. I think most of us are on Vardiol, and so that's how you feel about that, really, I suppose, isn't it? You've got De Bruyne where I've got Rodgers.
Yeah, I think we have to come back to this a bit later as well, because, like, for example, I've got a scenario where I'm going to get Brian this week. Almost nothing's going to change that unless he gets injured or something. But so next week is a scenario where I would. Okay, so I'd either have to roll in order to prepare for to go heavier on Villa in 37, or bring someone in for João Pedro, probably like Wood, for example, and then probably forgo Watkins unless Isak goes. So it's possible. So there's a few slightly more awkward decisions because obviously you've got a little bit more money floating around in the bank as opposed to in players. So it is a slightly tricky one, but I can't worry about it this week. But that's playing on my mind a little bit, is whether it's either going to be a route where I replace João Pedro with someone more financially available next week and hit the good fixture, or I forgo that and prepare for Watkins, etc. in 37. So it is a tricky one.
Okay, let's go to the wildcard team then.
Let's do that. I can't. By the way, one of the reasons why there's a bit of dwelling here is I can't actually see the clock anymore because of the way the screen chopped off. Yeah, that was from Focal. I apologise. He was very nice to us last week, so I wanted to be to share the favour back. But well, you got to mention. There you go. That's something. Wildcard. Apologies for the quality of this slide. It looks rubbish, but you have to remember that we're poor. And actually, on that, if anyone wants to, I noticed that other pods, joked to this about with Danny earlier on, the other pods have sort of designers and people who do things for them for free. We're not too proud if you want to do stuff for us for free and make things look nice for us. Or if you don't want to do that and you just want to click like and subscribe.
I think we need
I never do
subscribers.
that. Yeah, I know. Please do that. And then maybe we will find someone who will do things for us for free, or at least finally get our beer sponsor, which is still annoying me. I mean, surely. Anyway, so this is earlier in the week. He's probably changed his mind, so I won't hold him to this because I can imagine what he might change. But our friend FPL Frazier is on wildcard, but he's also got a bench boost 36, I think, going on. He got a bit unlucky with the announcements, I think it's fair to say. But in this scenario, I won't show the next week. But if you imagine, for example, Wolves have great fixtures 36, Forest have great fixtures 36. It's actually a pretty good bench boost. And also, a lot of these players are fairly sure to play, right? So he hasn't been silly. He hasn't tried to get anyone who won't play particularly. I think, I suppose there might be a minor doubt over someone like an Eze minutes in, later on, possibly something like that. But yeah, what do we think about this as a wildcard team? Is there anyone glaring that's missing for you? I've got a few names to throw forward, but on the whole, I think there's some pretty solid picks there.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting actually, wildcard, isn't it, this week, because there's so many picks. There was actually a lot of picks to choose from. Like, I look at those strikers, and I think they're both good. But I think he might be planning. I would never plan transfers with a wildcard, pretty much. So he might be planning to bring like Watkins in next week, maybe. But I would be starting with Watkins if it was on wildcard, definitely.
So I think from memory, by the way, he was baking it in for 37 when they get Tottenham. It's the bench boost factor, isn't it? That's the problem.
Don't they have Tottenham in 36?
No, 37.
All right, who have they got in 30? Oh, they got Bournemouth away and then Tottenham.
Yeah,
I still definitely would anyway. Yeah, it's a decision. It's one of this is what I was saying before. Double City defense is quite nice. I guess it's okay, but then you don't have Marmoush, and we just don't. Marmoush could just go off now. I think he could be great, and he's probably going to be better when Haaland's back if Haaland does come back. So you strikers are just it's a bit of a lottery because again, like Wisser is good on paper, but at the end of the day, this weekend they don't have much rest, so who knows what that looks like. I hope I'm right, but I'm not a huge fan of De Bruyne in there. I mean, he's okay, but I'd rather have Rodgers, which is why I picked Rodgers. So, but then Rodgers is boring. De Bruyne is more fun, and you're gonna climb more with that sort of potential. I'd maybe try and look for someone else. I don't know what other teams there are, but other than that, yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. It's nice having Pickford or someone like that, isn't it? Pickford is one where you sort of wish you could have just a free transfer.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah,
that'd be really nice. So Raya's been so frustrating this season because you always seem to have him at the wrong times, and
I know.
And you just end up stuck with him. I've had Raya so much of the season; he's not really done much for me. Apart from that week that I sold him, he got that random 9-pointer when Alisson conceded in the 94th minute to Ipswich or whatever it was. That was really annoying. But yeah, how do you feel about it? I mean,
I think maybe this is what the difficulty here, and I haven't really thought about it as much. I mean, as usual, it's the case, isn't it? If you're not on wildcard and so on and so forth, but his bench boost is the important factor here, isn't it? Realistically, I mean, like, if it was a straight wildcard, then you probably dump De Bruyne. Oh no, well, sorry, you probably make room for Watkins one way or another. To be honest with you, Eze is a funny one actually in this draft because when he put it together, of course, there was a legitimate chance that Crystal Palace were going to be doubling, and that was an option. But I think I'd probably forgo that for the slightly more dull Rodgers pick there because it just frees up a bit of cash and so on and so forth. I'm trying to think who Crystal Palace have in 36 that he was targeting. I guess it's Tottenham at home, isn't it?
It's Spurs, yeah.
Yeah, so I see the logic there. And he's the strikers are really tricky, aren't they? Because genuinely, on paper, there's sort of these aren't even all of them, are they? So Whistlewood, Cunha, Marmoush, and Watkins are the ones that immediately jump to mind. They're all fine, and 36, they've all got really nice games. The ones he's picked, so. I suppose in my head, I would say maybe he's a touch lean towards the importance of the bench boost there. That's probably my only comment. But if he might have a couple of transfers in the bank, in which case he's got plenty of room to move for Watkins and so on. So we don't know, but that's quite interesting. And Ruben, I have a difficult relationship with Ruben. I don't think I could make myself do it. You know, God, he's just. Whenever I've gone for him, he's been a disaster.
Mm.
So it's a no from me on him. But yeah, strange enough, the thing that excites me most about this is the idea of having Pickford and Branthwaite. Well, not Branthwaite, maybe the other guy, O'Brien, isn't it? But yeah.
I'm also a little bit. I do feel a bit upset that I probably won't own Cunha for the rest of the season, because is there anything more enjoyable than owning Cunha in your FPL team? I don't know if there is.
Isn't it? Yeah.
What an incredible player! And if, oh my God, somehow he ends up at Man United, I just can't imagine anything on paper that I would love more as an FPL pick.
I mean, this is completely irrelevant for now. But where would you see him playing?
Just front left, just in that left 10, just where he does now for Wolves, but for United, and he would be absolutely sensational. United have always had a more, they've usually always had that mercurial kind of, bad-tempered genius player like Cantona and stuff, and Rooney was kind of that for. I mean, he absolutely was a genius, and we've always had that sort of player. We've just not had that for so long. I would absolutely love Cunha. I'd almost love to have him more than Bumo, and I'm Bumo's biggest fan, and I really would love to have Bumo as well, and I think Bumo is incredible, but Cunha is just so magical. I really hope he ends up at United. What an incredible player, but I'm already looking forward to owning him next season. That would be a whining combo, wouldn't it? But yeah, so Cunha, God, it'd be tough if I probably not going to own him for the rest of the season. So it's quite nice to have him there. He's got a couple of decent home fixtures.
Yeah, I don't think this week's that bad either. Particularly, I can see him picking something up there. He's not one of those players you're worried about in any game, are you? Really?
No, I like that. I've got Milenkovic as well. I think you've still got him, haven't you? But it's quite nice, Milenkovic, he's got Leicester at home in a couple of weeks, hasn't he? When there's a couple of people have got bad fixtures, he's got a nice Leicester at home fixture.
So we'll come to your team before we round up. And of course, if there are questions anyone wants to drop in for the end, I will just say one thing, by the way, is if at the end, as well as any questions, if there is anything about feedback in terms of what you'd like to see either towards the end of the season or to a lesser extent in the future that you think would be fun for us to do, then please do. Because I've got some ideas about how we might wrap up the season a little bit in terms of reviewing and a bit of self-analysis and what do you call it, post-mortems and worst team of the season, that kind of thing. So I'm going to have fun with it, and Danny will be victim to my decisions probably. But his team is on the screen.
Yep. Not much to say really, is there? Unless anybody wants, unless there's anything in the chat. I mean, I don't think there's anything particularly interesting there. Like I say, I'm going to do Saka to Bumo. I think my current bust team might be the other way around on the captaincies. Really need to think hard in the next 24 hours where I'm going to land on captaincy. I think at the moment it's likely to be on Bumo, just with them being at home and United rotating likely so much. But I'm really tempted by those fronts. I mean, I never normally like captaining forwards either, do I? Really?
No, you don't.
It's another thing in there. But I feel okay about the team on the whole. It's just Bumo's just one of those. Unfortunately, there's only 4 weeks left. Unfortunately, and it's not protective or anything like that. I just think he's an incredible player. They've got 4 great fixtures. Just get him in. Don't overthink it for me. Think about my hopefully more fun moves next week, because I've got quite apart from Pedro, it's quite a nice sort of deep squad. I've got players that I quite like in there. I've got Livramento's going to come in hopefully for the last game of the season for Everton at home. It'd be nice. Got Milenkovic.
Yeah, it's a nice sleeper, isn't it? In that respect. Yeah. Out of interest, by the way, is any temptation to play any kind of bench versus starter, or are you kind of quite happy with what you got?
I don't think I will, no, because I know I can see the temptation with Milenkovic, and it is tough with Arsenal. But Bournemouth haven't been great, and Arsenal is still built to just get clean sheets. So I think I'll just go with the odds there a little bit. I think Saliba will play. So I quite fancy Palace. I mean, I hadn't really thought about it like that, but I guess also and I never think about it like this, but I guess also in terms of maximising your potential points, I've got triple Palace. So I'm not playing them against Milenkovic. So it will definitely stay like that for me. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
I mean, I guess we have this question, in our heads as well, Karen, about starting those 3 Palace players against Forest, and I guess it's really what Danny just said. It's that you're maximising the potential outcome from that game, and that's probably what it is. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I suppose that has to be the way. Because I mean, I've thought about this. There's a reasonable chance that Milenkovic could keep it clean there, and to a lesser extent, I can see Livramento potentially getting maybe an attacking return at Brighton, something like that. It's not impossible, but equally, you see the 3 defenders there, and ultimately they are at home. They're all useful for different reasons. Munoz obviously for his attacking potential, and then the other 2 for relatively settled defenses. So it is tricky. I think it's probably the same situation for me. I'm not really much to add other than that obviously I'm a massive maverick because I've got De Bruyne and you've got Rodgers, which because I'm really exciting and racy and I'm a natural risk taker, and that's why everyone tunes in. They're not really here to see you, they're here to see me take risks. No, joking aside though, because obviously I'm not doing I know a little bit more about how things are going for me, which is not bad, but that's to say it's not, I'm not going to be getting a 3-figure rank or anything. So there is maybe there's room to take a few more chances, but the problem is I'm set in my ways, right? I know what I think is a good decision, what isn't, and the obvious move there to me looks like Brian this week. It just does, I can't really shake that. It's just that is the way that it is. Any thoughts? I suppose it's the same as your team, more or less, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the same. I think you've got
same, but a bit worse. Yeah.
Trickier thoughts next week, I think, for you, or the week after, like you said. I'm just looking at some of the questions in the chat that I might have missed. Heather asked, what do you think about the 3 Ws on wildcard 35, Wisser, Wood and Watkins? I don't mind it, to be honest. I think we covered that slightly, but yeah, I definitely have Watkins on there. I don't know how to feel about Wood at the moment because I've loved Wood all season. But now that you get to when there's only 4 weeks left, you suddenly think, do I want to rely on that sort of steady Eddie who's sort of outperformed his numbers all season, and he is really solid, but he kind of, I mean, if he scores tonight, that'll change it all. But when there's only 4 weeks left, you kind of want someone that's backed up by the numbers a bit more. That's I don't know, that feels a little bit more explosive. I don't know how to feel about Wood. It would feel, with only 4 weeks left, it would feel really conservative bringing him in, even though I've been his biggest fan all season.
Isn't it weird though in that respect? Because I think I'm more likely to bring him in than you, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Yeah, I know what you mean. The last fixture of the season is a funny one as well for them because they will almost definitely have something to play for in a tight fixture at Chelsea. But of course, I mean, yes, Chelsea's defense has been a bit better, but of course, it will be an important game. They'll be throwing everything at it or backs to the wall. So that's quite a tricky one as well. But I think this week it's probably worth holding off him unless you have to do it and make that decision next week after 2 more fixtures, tonight and Palace.
Yeah, we've got a question from Alex as well in the chat, just asking,
have we
whether you'd sell Wisser or whether you sell Mateta for Wisser or Watkins for a hit. And basically the answer is no, I wouldn't. But I think Monday is really important for Mateta owners. Because like I say, he was unstoppable in that cup match, wasn't he? And you know what he's like when Mateta hits. If Mateta hits form, he's just unstoppable. So you want to see what happens on that Monday before you start moving Mateta around, even if it's for Watkins. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't hit Wisser in. He could be really good this weekend, but with only 2 days rest, there's no chance I'll be hitting him in.
I'm going to return to a question from right at the start, actually, because it was before we hit the buttons. From our friend FPL Easy, I think that's right. He's on X, Twitter, whatever. Yes, lads. Nice. With the announcement of no doubles, I'm second in my mini league. Good for you. Thoughts on Saka, Mateta to Embuemo, Wissa? Oh, I suppose it's the same sort of question, isn't it? Aggressive play. I'm just trying to work out whether he needs to do. Yeah, okay. I mean, again, slightly no, but I mean, I think it's not the worst. Do you know what we've advised Easy before? Do you remember we advised him not to go for the Brentford manager away at Leicester for a AM chip, and they won 4-0. so if you feel it in your gut, Easy, I think that's perfectly okay.
Yeah. People are getting a bit itchy feet on Mateta because he's been 50 minutes, 59 minutes. Like I say, he's brilliant in the last match, and he could be. That's a nice comment from Zadia. I just saw that.
Yeah.
I just low key kind of. I mean, Palace. They've got a Monday night game at home, and they're feeling really good. They've just battered Villa. I don't see why they would rest any players in that game, and then they play Spurs. So I low key feel really good about my Palace guys, just leaving them there for now, and then phasing them out when we get towards 37, 38. So yeah, just hold tight. I think people are getting a bit desperate now, which is understandable. You know, people want to look for the next toy as soon as possible. Running out of weeks to catch up. But
this is it. You know, we talk about teams on the beach, and there's plenty of managers there as well. You're thinking, do you know what? I'd rather be doing something else with my life. Maybe I'll just take a few sort of holiday romance punts, something like that. But yeah, that seems fair. I guess that's pretty much us for this evening, unless there are any kind of last words from our loyal band of acolytes. No one says that anymore. But yeah, okay, good. And next week should be quite a little bit more jazzy, I think. I can just see there being a few more difficult decisions next week, especially for me. So that should be good. And yes, before we do go, Karen, you're absolutely right. Please do hit the like button and share with any other humans, organisms, anything that will be able to help us poor guys out, get those subs up and all that jazz. Well, Danny, I should let you go because, of course, now you've got your new regime. I'm guessing you're doing sort of what, Tai Chi, maybe some meditation.
Yeah,
I don't know why I said that in a Spanish accent. Meditation.
Beer yoga I've got coming up now. I don't know if you've heard of it.
That can't be real. That can't be a thing.
You have to bend. You have to you take sips from your beer, but you have to do it from all sorts of bendy and flexible positions. I'm joking.
Can you? I tell you what. If you hit a 3-figure rank, you can release a video of you doing beer yoga.
Okay. Deal.
He's agreed. Good. So we'll get that. It's on record. So we can all see that later in the season. I would say if there's any dare for me, but nah, it's fine. We don't need to do that.
We don't know your rank, so hey.
Yeah, if I make the end of the season, then that can be the end. All right, good. Right, we'll leave it there. But have a good evening, everyone, and good luck with your choices. And we'll look forward to seeing you all here bright and early next week. So yeah, thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Nice one.